Hey, what's up, guys? Reb Bishop here of the Press A to Listen podcast. We have another video review for you. This time around, it's for a game called Submerged. And if you have not heard about this game or don't know really anything about it, it is a combat-free, kind of an exploration-style game. So if you're familiar with games like Journey, where there's kind of no combat and you're kind of just roaming around the world and the environment trying to explore and find stuff, it's very similar to that in the atmosphere and everything. Granted, it's not, it's not going to be the next Journey, so don't get your hopes up or anything. But in a comparison type stake, I feel like that's the closest game you can kind of compare it to. But yeah, like I said, Submerged, it's combat free. There are no enemies to fight. There are no weapons. There are no guns, no swords, nothing like that. The whole point of the game is you have this city that is submerged underwater. You play a girl named Miku. You're trying to save your brother who has unfortunately been attacked and is wounded. And the whole goal of the game is you need to explore this submerged city. Try to find these essentially care packages that are on top of these buildings, and get the stuff that's in those care packages to help heal your brother, so you and your brother can leave the city and escape. That's the base of the game, and the actual gameplay components are pretty simple to pick up and understand relatively quickly. If you watched, like when I'm in that boat there, that's how you travel around the world. Obviously, with it being a submerged city, it's all water around you, so you need something to help you get to each building. And that is where the boat comes into play. And you have different boat upgrades that you can find in the actual water, in the actual city, which will make you kind of boost, make you get to places a little bit quicker. And throughout that, you'll also see creatures out there in the world. So you'll see whales, you'll see dolphins, you'll see birds, stuff like that. So they try to add a little bit of life to the actual city itself. But with it being kind of submerged, there's no other humans around or anything like that, it kind of feels a little bit lifeless. But back to the gameplay, like I mentioned, you travel by boat from building and place to place. And once you're at a building, to get these, the care packages that I talked about earlier, you have to traverse the actual building. So you start at the bottom and you try to make your way all the way up to the top. And these buildings can be hotels, they can be kind of refineries and stuff like that. Basically anything that was kind of tall and big that was in the city previously. And the traversal stuff is very similar to that of an Assassin's Creed or an Uncharted game. The only big difference is you move a little slower when climbing up buildings in Submerged. And I feel like that is definitely deliberate, like they do that intentionally. I don't know if it's to try to add some kind of tension to it, but you kind of have no worry of your character falling or dying. I played through the whole game, which, by the way, takes about 2 to 3 hours to do the main campaign. Once you get all the crates and supply drops, that ends the main campaign. And once you're done with that, you can go back in and explore and get everything, all the collectibles and stuff like that. And you're also given a telescope about, I don't know, probably about 10 minutes into the main game. And what this does is it helps you find said collectibles and helps you find out which buildings the supply crates and stuff like that are actually on. So that comes in handy a little bit, because there are some buildings that you can't really get on, and then there are some buildings that you can get on, but maybe you don't know where to actually go on the building to get up there. So that kind of comes into play, and it kind of helps you out a little bit along the way. But the downside to all of this is, I say you get the telescope within the first 10 minutes. That's also when you get the boat. That's also when they explain the supply crates and everything like that. Within the first 10 minutes, you kind of see everything that the game has to offer. And it's unfortunate, because I think the idea of a combat-free exploration-type game, I think that's a cool idea. Like Journey did it relatively well. People love that game, and I feel like they were trying they were trying something with this game that was similar to Journey, but then also trying to put their own unique spin on it. But it's unfortunate that I don't think they actually captured what they wanted to do, because the game itself is not relatively fun to play through. It's kind of boring and kind of monotonous especially as you get towards the end, because you end up just doing the same thing over and over. You go from this one building to get a supply crate, you go back to your brother to give him whatever is in the supply crate, and then you go back and do that again and again and again. But at $20, asking for $20 for this style of game, I feel like is a little bit too much. I feel like if you ask $10, $12, maybe that's a kind of a sweet spot for it. But at $20, it's very difficult to recommend it, because it's a cool idea, but I don't feel like it's executed well on. I mean, the deliberate kind of pacing of the traversal elements of each building, the kind of story itself is kind of very predictable once you get about an hour or so into it. So I would recommend people wait for a sale. And that'll be it for this video review of Submerged. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.